नमस्कार, मैं हूँ बॉबी और स्वागत है आपका हीलियर लाइफ में. Today we have Tasneem with us, and she is a healer and a Tantra instructor. The word Tantra itself is so much that people misunderstand, ठीक है? But इनकी offering से आपको समझ में आएगा what the Tantra and what fashion of Tantra that she is practicing, and she's been healing many people. There is no count because it's been long that she's been practicing and healing and guiding people with it. So आज हम बात करेंगे तंत्र के बारे में, and we are going to talk about sexuality also and how it impacts our emotional and physical being all. ये हम बहुत lightly लेते हैं चीजें, और maybe most of us are unaware that how our individual sexuality affects us emotionally and physically also. ठीक है, तो चलिए पहले तो इनका स्वागत करते हैं और फिर इसके बारे में बात करते हैं. स्वागत है आपका तस्नीम जी.
थैंक यू बाबी.
पहले तो मतलब एंड में तो थैंक यू बोलते हैं, बट मैं शुरुआत थैंक यू से करना चाहती हूँ कि आपने ये टाइम निकाला हमारे साथ बातचीत करने के लिए, बिकॉज जो बात हम करने वाले हैं आज काफ़ी ज़रूरी बात करने वाले हैं हम एक्चुअली. तो इसके लिए आपने वक्त निकाला. पहले शुरुआत से मैं थैंक यू बोलती हूँ. And also a warm welcome to our show. And एक तो अकाउंटेंट की जॉब, ठीक है, वहाँ से एकदम से ये जो जर्नी है, मतलब थोड़ा सा सोचने में ना it takes a time, like okay, you know, from the corporate world entire एक अलग vibe से that this major shift. So how and where did this happen and where did it begin, I would say?
Yeah, so that is one conundrum, accounting se Tantra. And then another thing people often say is like, I was born into a Muslim family. And फिर वहाँ से ये जो sexuality and sensuality का जो path है, ये कहाँ से कैसे आ गया? So both of that is related to actually what I consider dharma, you know, जो why we are born into a life, why we are born into a particular setting. Yeah. So I feel like this is my dharma to be in this situation in the beginning of my life. I was born to very progressive parents, but in a Muslim family, and growing up in India, in Indore, a lot of reservation around sexuality, a lot of taboos and suppression of sexual energy, just in our culture in general. तो मैं उस सब से भाग के अमेरिका चली गई, ऑफिशियली भाग के कॉलेज के लिए, पेरेंट्स की परमिशन और ब्लेसिंग के साथ. एंड आई स्टडीड अकाउंटिंग देयर बिकॉज दैट वाज अ स्टेबल गुड इनकम जॉब एंड आई वाज गुड विद नंबर्स. But I knew that that's not my life path. I knew my soul is here for something bigger and more meaningful. And so then when Tantra came into my life, it felt like a remembering कि ये तो बहुत lifetime से मेरा path है ही, बस अब जाके लैंग्वेज मिल गई है और कुछ कम्युनिटी मिल गई है जहाँ मैं ये इसे पूरी तरह से एक्सप्रेस कर सकती हूँ. सो दैट्स हाउ इट स्टार्टेड. इन न्यूयॉर्क आई वाज एन अकाउंटेंट एंड समवन आई वाज ऑलरेडी डूइंग सम पर्सनल ग्रोथ वर्क टू get over my own shadows and patterns around sexuality. And then in that path, Neo-Tantra came into my life, which is more focused on sacred sexuality. And through that, the first training I attended, it was a weekend seminar in New York City, and I felt instantly I'm home. That this is who I'm meant to be, and this is my path. And my soul just remembered, I say click, 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 all the chakras went green light, and then I knew. And then the rest was just history. I took a deep dive, did some teacher training, started teaching, and then eventually accounting just fell off because this is the thing that I came here to do.
Okay. So you shift back to India, or you were practicing there as well?
So when I was in the US, I was starting to teach on the side a little bit, just within the legal framework of not full-time, but I could do a little bit there, here and there, to practice the craft. But then it came a point where I could either apply for a green card or quit. And so at that point, the choice was pretty clear that I did not want to commit another 5-10 years of my life to doing something just for money and for material validation. But it was time to take that leap of faith and do this full time. So I just quit, and I thought I will travel the world and learn a little more. And it just happened so that it was right before the lockdown, and I came to India to renew my passport. So it's like Mother India called me back just in time. And then I was locked down here in Delhi and then Rishikesh. And then eventually I landed in Goa. So I've been very blessed to have this from the time of the lockdown. One of the best journeys I could have expected for my own unfolding of this path.
So जैसे कि ना मैंने एक word आपके profile में went through this Trika, that's influence, उसी का काफी influence है आपकी practices में और offering में. What is Trika?
So Trika Shaivism or Trika Tantra is the traditional tantric wisdom that really talks about the rule of threes.
Okay.
So ये Holy Trinity तो हमने काफ़ी West में भी सुना है. This concept that there is a trinity of creation, which is the creator, the created, and creation itself. So the observer, the observed, and observation. So it's the subject, the object, and the process of interaction. And so Shiva, Shakti, and the love between them, kind of, you can think of it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so that's how, like, how did this Trika, like, it's from Kashmir, this is practiced in Kashmir or it comes from Kashmir? That's what
So Kashmir Shaivism is one of the lineages that has conserved the spiritual wisdom of Tantra from the scriptures, from the texts of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, Shiv Sutras, Tantra Lokas, and Spanda Karika, and many texts that talk about energy, about Tantra. So to me, Tantra is the awareness of energy, understanding and mastery of energy. So now quantum physics is starting to catch up, but our ancestors knew this all along and they had mastered this art of energy. So Tantra is about this awareness of energy, which in the body we experience as Kundalini Shakti. And there's a big whoop about Kundalini and it's supposed to be hush hush, but it's actually just primordial life force that runs through all of us. The fact that we are breathing and there is an impulse to take the breath in and out and our blood is flowing through our veins, that is Kundalini Shakti running through our body. That's what keeps us alive and keeps us functioning. So to understand this energy that is our primordial life force and then connect it to the supreme consciousness and the soul of the universe, you can think of it.
Okay.
That connection is the awareness of energy, and Kashmir Shaivism is one of the lineages that has preserved the knowledge and the wisdom of awareness and mastery of energy in this way.
Okay, right. Okay, so because we are talking about Tantra, तो जो raw feeling आती है लोगों को Tantra word सुनकर कि या तो कुछ कहीं पे काला जादू चल रहा है, कोई black magic चल रहा है, ऐसे, there's a circle made and people are sitting and doing that, and that's Tantra for them. मतलब एकदम से ना सोच लेते हैं, and then again थोड़े से जो लोग मतलब जिन्होंने थोड़ी सी पढ़ाई लिखाई करी है on this subject, उनको लगता है again कि it is just about sex. And there is no deeper thought about it. Tantra, sex.
Yes.
Yeah. So how true it is?
So it's both and. It's true and it's also been exaggerated out of proportion. So Kala Jadoo to jo hai, I think it's a fear consciousness, the people that live in fear. Since the time of even medieval times in the world, magic is feared, witches are feared. Anything that the conscious brain cannot understand, people have a fear around it. And India mein kafi hai bhi aise practitioners that are, it's like any technology, like radiation. It can be used to cure cancer, it can be used to make bombs. It's about the intention of the person using it. So same with Tantric Vidya. It is energy and awareness of energy, which is the design of the universe. So when you have mastery over it, you can manipulate and master or maneuver.
Okay, so
energies.
You're saying that there is a connection between Tantric Vidya and Tantra?
Yes. So it comes from somewhere. Na aag ke bina to dhua nahi uthta hai. So there is some, but it's, I think what that has happened is people have taken advantage of their powers or their understanding of energy in a way that it seems like magic. But it's not really magic. It's just actually understanding the design of the universe. is sacred geometry, quantum physics. All of this is coming to that now. So once we understand the design of the universe, we step into our power as creators. And that sometimes people can misuse and take advantage of, like any technology. So that's my point with that. If there is magic, then there is light and dark. And that is actually the nature of creation. It's duality. Where there is light, there is darkness. Yin hai, yang hai. It's all in balance. And because without darkness, we will not appreciate the light also, right?
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, unfortunately in India, the connotation goes straight to black magic, which is, I think, fear over generations, and also some manipulation by people who are caught up in their ego and caught up in serving themselves rather than serving the greater good. But to me, Tantra is a way to really bring about healing and serving the greater good, healing the world, and bringing light into the world, because we understand how light can flow. So एक तो वो है, and then sexuality, there is also a reason for that, because Tantra is one of the few spiritual paths in the world, aside from, I would say, Taoism and then old Tibetan Buddhism, where sexuality is not excluded. It's not said that you have to renounce your sexual energy or that you have to renounce Shakti in order to get enlightened. In fact, Tantric scriptures say that through Shakti, one can reach a state of enlightenment much more exponentially faster than through being in stillness and meditation and like the Shiva state. So, because that is the design of, like, the whole universe is Shakti, you know. So Tantra is one of those few paths that has embraced Shakti. And when I say Shakti, there is the literal translation as energy and the feminine principle. And Tantra embraces both. And so we don't exclude anything. And in that process, there is sexual energy is also included. So in the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, which is the most ancient script and also what Osho has popularized through the Book of Secrets and what has become the foundation of Neo-Tantra, there are 112 practices. How you can meditate on everything that happens in life, every process of life, to reach the divine. And 2 out of those processes are about sexual energy. One is the act of sexual union, and one is the memory of that sexual bliss of union. And those 2 practices deal with sexual energy, and the rest 110 practices deal with other aspects of life. But because these are the most suppressed energies in our world, that it's also the biggest energy because it has the potential to create life. And I've said this before here, but this one sperm and one egg, which are microscopic, can create a whole human this size.
Exactly.
So it's pure potential energy.
Yes.
It's not mass for mass or matter for matter. It's pure potential energy. So that much potential energy, when it's been pushed down, then it will rise up in a way that is, you know, either going to be like a revolution or a rebellion, or some kind of shadow or aggression. And we're seeing both in the world.
Yeah, we are seeing rather the other way. Like, there are a lot of suppression and people are just not aware of that it is suppressed, and they are suppressing because they have to be. It's my viewpoint on this, that people have to fit in society. Everybody wants to fit in society, wants to project in a manner that they are liked and approved and validated by bulk of people, right? So that's the reason that they are unable to come out or talk their heart out or talk their mind out. Forget about talking body, that's very far right now, you know.
Unfortunately,
unfortunately that's far now. People are unable to talk about it. So how, I would like to know, because there are a lot of people that you are dealing with, right? A lot of people are talking to you as a facilitator or as a coach. So you're getting to know what people are going through. बहुत हिम्मत लगती है आकर बात करने के लिए भी इसके बारे में. Like, people are still reaching out to you. So what kind of I mean, I'm unable to put it properly right now, like how it's affecting us emotionally, physically, because we are so suppressed. Okay, when I say we, it's like bulk number of people,
Yes, it's a
right?
whole
Yes,
culture.
yeah,
Yeah.
the culture that we are in right now. Doesn't matter that, this entire Vigyan Bhairav started from India, but still, we don't talk about it. है ना? It is from our country, but still we don't talk about it. We are scared to get
Yeah.
judged.
Yeah.
और इसीलिए अंदर से अंदर चीजें चल रही है. What are the repercussions that's happening?
Yeah, so that, that is the heart of it, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
this suppression of this big energy. So as I said, it's such potential, massive potential energy. And in the female body, there's a cycle where we have some eggs every month. And in the male body, there's a cycle where every time men ejaculate, there's 12,000 plus sperm on an average that is released. So all of this energy is just pushed in. So what happens when big energy is pushed down? It creates big inertia. And that inertia is causing depression, that inertia is causing anxiety, restlessness. या तो अगर वो inertia नहीं है, थोड़ा momentum है, and people are expressing it, then we are seeing this complete opposite side of the spectrum now, where people are just being mindless with their sexuality, because अब नया freedom मिल गया, especially हमारी generation में, the age of Tinder, people are veering away from getting married and having a family life. They just want to explore their freedom. Everybody just wants to be free, because fairly so, because we've been so bounded for so long. Now that we have the freedom, we're really going for it. But in that, there is some grounding missing, and there is some container, because this big Shakti needs a container to flow. Otherwise, it's just exploding everywhere. So what is happening because of this suppression? A lot of people are out of touch with their authentic self, because our sexual energy is our life force, creativity, primordial energy, which is our essence, which is the string of our soul that is connected to the cosmos and everything that exists. So when that is out of touch, people are just chasing some hungry ghosts. They are like hungry ghosts chasing something outside of themselves to fulfill actually what comes from within, which is our sense of self. And again, Trika Shaivism talks about these malas, these impurities that happen in the process of creation, because we come from oneness into this world of duality, where we forget that we are one. We forget that we are part of everything. We are this one cosmic heartbeat. And so then there is this illusion of separation, which we call Maya. And actually in Shaivism, Trika Tantra, there is the concept that even Maya is a Shakti. She's an intentional Shakti of creation. It's a veil of perception that we have created to intentionally forget our nature as one. So in that forgetting of our nature as oneness, we start to feel that there is something missing, something is lacking within us. Right. And we're seeking that outside of us. May it be through materialistic shopping and big car, big home, agla job, agla title, agla ambition, or may it be through validation that we seek through our sexual partners, through our connections, through love and relationships, or may it be through our friends and family, like power dynamics. We want to prove that we are right and we are worthy, and unfortunately a lot of our worthiness rests on our mental capabilities, not so much our emotional bodies and our physical bodies. So we are like putting all of our emphasis on these external things, and the internal source, which is this primordial life force, which is our sexual energy, like the sexual energy sparks this primordial life force, because it's that spark of creation. And when we're out of touch with that, we forget our brilliance. We forget that we are divine, that we are the creators of our own reality. And, like for an example, if I say to you, Bobby, how many yellow cars have you seen today?
I don't remember.
You don't remember, but now when you go out, I'm sure you'll notice, right? So it's what we put our attention on is what we attract in our reality, because it's all out there. And we just choosing to put our attention on what it is that we are seeing. So when we put our attention on our wholeness, on our fullness, then we see the world reflect that fullness back to us. But when we put attention on what's lacking and what's missing, then that's exactly what gets reflected back to us. So this is what's happened now with sexuality being so repressed for so long. And then now suddenly there's freedom, but without much guidance, without any education, like porn at best. And that also comes with so much stigma and shame and guilt of being caught as a
Yes.
teenager. And then it's edited. It's not real life because it's very male centric, but actually sexuality is very feminine. Sensuality is very feminine. That's why women are multi orgasmic. That's why we have this ability to create life from our womb. It's our superpower.
Yes.
And porn has made it all about the male body, and it's about what part goes where and how long the erection lasts and all of that. But actually sexuality is that is like maybe one of the byproducts along the way. Sexuality is about this connection of our life force with another life force merging in union, and in that moment of peak bliss, which we think of as orgasm, we can remember our oneness. We can forget that we are separate, and we can remember that, wow, like this body doesn't exist, this duality doesn't exist. We are this one consciousness, and I think anyone who's experienced that can relate that is the design. That is the design of our creation, and there's a reason that process is mandatory for creation, for life to come forth. There is no accident. So by suppressing this sexual energy and our relationship with sexuality, we've actually become easier to control. So that's intentional, because when people are sexually empowered and liberated, you can't tell them what to do because they don't need makeup and they don't need XYZ car or X amount of a house to feel their worth. They know that they're the creator, the divine within them when they're connected with their own sexual energy in a liberated way. And it has nothing to do with the act of sex with another. It's this primordial life force that is our power to create. That is our true nature as the divine. So when we're connected with that, we are in full ownership of our power. And so it's a systematic suppression of this, which is a topic for another day. But
Yes.
But because of the systematic suppression, we have gotten into this place where we just don't know how to relate with our sexuality, and we don't have the education or the right resources. And now it's at this point where we don't even feel comfortable talking about it. Even with our closest friends, like this topic is always taboo, even with as much freedom as we have now.
Absolutely, even now.
So this is the revolution I think that needs to happen, where we can at least talk about it. That's the first step, where we can at least be open about what's going on. And it's not always supposed to be like how it is in the movies or in the porno films, that it's just perfect and this process happens and then boom and bang and the sounds and the visuals. No, that's not how it is. It's actually just as raw and real and vulnerable as any other human emotion, even more so actually, right? So
you do think that this is affecting the human brain of suppressing, and it is actually because, as I said, if you would like to share, like what kind of problem that people come with.
So a lot of times people who have recognized, because the first step is awareness, because this is actually the real pandemic is this in our culture in this time right now, is a lot of people aren't even aware of the problems they're facing is because of their sexual energy being suppressed or repressed, or there's some trauma or denial in their life. So the people who are fortunate enough that have done the inner work to recognize that that's what's causing it, it can range from any amount of things such as, well, the most common one is this: they recognize that there is something missing, that they have accomplished all the material things. They have the job and the house and the wife and all of that, and then, or the husband, and then now what? So this is the most common, where people come to this place of all the material things, checklist has happened, and their soul is still empty. It's still hungry.
Yeah, still something missing.
Yeah, because that nourishment from within is missing. Because Shakti, again, like I call it sexual energy, Kundalini, primordial life force, it's all Shakti. And that is the source of nourishment. Energy is what fuels us. So when we are disconnected from energy, we are running on empty, without battery. So that is the most broad, scope of what people are challenged with when they come to this work. They seek out Tantra. Another common thing that they're trying to solve is that they are finding that their sexual connections are not what they hoped. That they're able to have a partner or meet someone and create intimacy, but they're just not able to accomplish what they thought that it should accomplish, because it's not about accomplishing, it's about being present and letting go of goals. So when we come from this idea of accomplishing something, then that's also where problems like ED or premature ejaculation also come up, because there is a pressure that people are putting on themselves to perform a certain way. Or in the women, in the female bodies, they're not able to open. And a lot of times, unfortunately, for the female bodies, there has been trauma of their first or many sexual experiences were not consensual, or it was not completely a full yes. And a lot of women still don't know when their body is a full yes to being penetrated.
Exactly. This is a very common thing to be discussed.
Yeah. And that creates contraction in all parts of the body. And even in male or female bodies, anytime we are contracting our energy, that is what causes disease and cancer, because the chakras, the organs are all related to energy. So anytime one of the chakras is blocked or the energy is constricted, the organs related to that chakra will have some kind of a problem in functioning, because prana needs to flow. Life needs to flow through the body. So when it's constricted, it cannot flow. And that's where disease happens. So it's no accident that in men, after a certain age, the most common risk is prostate cancer. And where does that live? In the Muladhara chakra. And what does that come from? From being tight and constricted. And anytime we're in fear or stress, the first thing we do is pucker our butt. And that constricts the Muladhara, and that's causing this constriction in the prostate, in the physical body. Or in the feminine body, there is so much related to, UTIs, vaginismus, or breast cancer even, because we're constructing these chakras that need to flow, like love needs to flow. The heart chakra, which is connected to the breasts, is a portal of love. And now, because of this shadow around sexuality, especially in the feminine, we feel like we have to restrict the flow of love to seem unattached, to seem cool, because there's a difference in biology and physiology. The male body secretes hormones that don't create attachment. Their physiology over evolution is to spread their seed. So for them, sexual connection does not create attachment. And in the female body, our biology is to receive the sperm and nest it for 9 months in our womb and create life from it. So we need that support and that sense of safety and protection. And the hormones that are released after sex are bonding hormones. So oxytocin, serotonin are all attaching us to our partner. So there's a clear difference in physiology. And because there is not much education or communication in sexuality and sexual connection, these differences are often not understood by each other. So men are roaming around thinking they want their freedom without realizing that women don't have the same capacity or desire for freedom. And female-bodied people are walking around looking for love, wanting that connection, wanting that attachment, not realizing that in the male body, this desire for connection and attachment is not being created. So because we're not communicating about these, there's also a lot of heartache and shadow around how people express their sexuality and what people think that they want from sexual connection, and an inability to be honest about what we're seeking. So that is creating also like emotional trauma and rejection and loneliness, and everybody wants love, everybody wants connection, but we're not able to find it because we are not able to communicate our desires and our needs, because that has just not been ever encouraged or promoted in our culture.
So okay, so Tasneem, जो हमने बातें करी इसके बारे में अभी, Related to that, like, how does your work, how do people get your work, like how your offerings, what are your offering? How does it work? With it's a group workshop that people attend, or it's a one-on-one thing? How does it go?
So it's a combination of both. I offer private coaching for people who are looking for someone to talk about these things, guide them through their own relationship with their body, their own sexuality, and intimacy with their partner. So for that, they can reach out to me one-on-one. The best is to reach out through my Facebook or Insta, which you will link
Yes.
below, and they can write me. They can reference this show and mention that they've seen the interview so I can be aware. And another offering is workshops and retreats that I create, sometimes my own offerings, and sometimes I teach at other festivals and retreats that I'm invited to. So again, my Insta and Facebook are good to follow so they can know what offerings are coming up next. And then I also do one-on-one therapy, which if people have done some work on themselves and they're already into the practice of meditation or at least yoga or some kind of mindfulness, then we can talk about hands-on therapy, which is energy healing, which can really help to release stuck energy and start moving this Shakti, this prana through the body in an optimal way.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how it works. So that means, I mean, you're working with bulk number of people on a regular basis. So there's a lot of energy exchange that happens, right? Because people coming with all their suppressions and depressions and every anger and rage, and then so I believe there is a transfer happens. Okay,
Yes.
so how to keep yourself the manner you are, okay, beautifully calm. So what are your daily practices?
So there is, Tantra is a art of flow. So as much as structure is great for consistency and grounding, I also believe in flexibility. So there's 3 principles that I work with. It's cleansing, grounding, and renewal. So for cleansing, I'm very lucky I live in Goa. So I go in the ocean and I dance a lot. That moves a lot of energy, especially we have ecstatic dance and all of these ways of just shaking off. So those of you who might be familiar with the Kundalini meditation of Osho, that shaking the energy, shaking it off is very important. So taking movement and connecting with the body to release energy is one. Salt water obviously helps with that. And then grounding, which is through consistent practice. I have a consistent asana practice. I do pranayam and jalneti and some Ayurvedic practices to keep my system clean and functioning well.
Right.
And that can be, again, structure or flow, however, whatever will make you do it, if you're going to do it for 5 minutes a day, do it for 5 minutes a day. If you don't have to make a goal of half an hour a day and then not do it at all. So whatever will actually work is all welcome. And then flow and renewal, that is the practice of Tantra that teaches us how to keep the Shakti moving, how to keep the flow going, especially when the sexual energy is freely flowing just within myself and with my connection to nature, to everything that is around. This energy can keep moving, and dancing is a big one for that. So I love to dance any opportunity I get. Dancing, running, swimming, just any excuse to move the energy. So even if, we were talking about something like mood swings this morning. So even if you're having a mood swing, just like, just give it a good shake. Let the energy run through you. The more we can keep the energy flowing, the more prana we can keep flowing through our body, and which is where releasing old energy, grounding, all of that helps us to keep the body in flow. And then we open up this sexual energy, our primordial life force, and it can run through our body in flow. That is the secret to vitality. And that is ultimately the practice of old school tantrics, is ultimately longevity and vitality. So this prana shakti can flow through the body, and this eternal source of life force within us can keep fueling us and nourishing us from within.
wow, it's a lot of information in just a short frame of time, and I feel that it's too short of frame, you know, that we had, क्योंकि बहुत सारी बातें आपने की जिसका मुझे मन कर रहा था कि और ये लंबी चले और इसके बारे में और बात किया जाए, but this is the time frame that we have for an episode. I think probably part 2-3 करना पड़ेगा complete करने के लिए, है ना? क्योंकि ये जो है ये the subject that we have spoken today is like everybody. Okay, it's about everyone, every being on the planet, every atom size or everything in the world. It's about everything. But again, how less people talk about it, how less people are aware about it, and how much they're suffering out of it. So thank you so much for enlightening us कि ऐसी भी चीजें होती और है ऐसा, और ये है हमारे सबकॉन्शियस में जिसके वजह से हम सफर कर रहे हैं. दिस इज लॉट ऑफ नॉलेज दैट यू हैव गिवन अस एंड एनलाइटन अस too much. Thank you so much for coming and giving us this knowledge, blessing us with this knowledge, and thank you so much again for your time. Thank you so much, Tasneem.
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you for creating this platform for people to learn and understand things that maybe they don't have an opportunity otherwise to talk about or hear someone talk about. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. तो जी हाँ, ये थी हमारे साथ तस्नीम जी, जिसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं करना चाहता है, हमने उसके बारे में बात करी आज. ठीक है, तो मतलब आई एम लूजिंग वर्ड्स बिकॉज इट्स समथिंग दैट वी स्पीक लेस बट सफर मोर. तो मत कीजिए सफर, और ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है तो प्लीज़ हमारे डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में जाइए और इनका इंस्टा और फेसबुक इनको फॉलो कीजिए, इनसे बात कीजिए और देखिए वेयर इट टेक्स यू एंड हाउ इट हेल्प्स यू. एंड एज आई ऑलवेज से कि अगर आपने नहीं देखा है एपिसोड पूरे ध्यान से तो फिर से रिवाइंड कीजिए और फिर से देखिए एंड मेक द मोस्ट आउट ऑफ इट. थैंक यू सो मच.